I know it's a bit early to be making a tier list, but for right now, I'm just this tier list is based off what I'm seeing in my current ranked matches and what how well characters are doing and how often I see people swap to them, and you get the gist of it. I'm mostly a support player, so take my opinions on the rest of the cast with a grain of salt because the season is still relatively new, and if there's a already meta that's going on or whatever, I haven't experienced it yet, so I am unaware of that. I'm honestly just waiting for an Emong or Flash video of them to make a tier list, so we all know what this is going for. But starting off with the tanks, Monkey, I want to put Monkey in B tier for two reasons. He's good at dive, but Bastion is really good right now, and therefore Monkey's bubble gets deleted by Bastion, and his health pool also gets shredded by this man right here. So that Bastion being really good right now alone puts Monkey down from being one of the better tanks this season. So sorry guys. Ball, I don't know where I want to put Ball. Ball, in all honesty, he's good. We'll put a Ball in C tier. Ball is good. However, if your team cannot follow up with any of your plays, Ball's kind of Ball's kind of a loose cannon. He's not really that great. Like he can keep a backline in check, but hmm, nah. Maybe we put Ball in D. No, we'll keep him in C tier. Here, we'll come back to Ball later. Orisa, Orisa, I want to say is an A tier tank for one reason: her overhealth and her fortify. Those are the same thing, but her fortify alone can keep her alive. And because they recently changed armor, they did some armor changes recently, so armor is less tanky. Because Diva was absurdly good last season, but since they tweaked the armor down a bit, overhealth has kind of become a good thing to have now. So that skyrocketed Orisa, and for her survivability and her two forms of CC. Well, not two forms. Her one form of CC. She has the a javelin throw and the spear spinny thing that mitigates damage, which helps her keep her alive a lot longer. So Orisa is good for that. Diva, Diva is still insanely good. Between her and Monkey, Diva is a lot easier to use and can, compared to Monkey, she can eat her Matrix is an insane self sustainability, and it keeps your teammates alive from all forms of damage that don't include like beams or melee weapons and etc. Anything that's bullet related or a projectile, Diva can keep her team alive from that. And if your mech dies, you have a chance to come back. So you also have high survivability if you survive in baby form and can get your ult back and call back your mech, which keeps you in the fight a lot longer. And you can rinse repeat this process if you can somehow manage to stay alive. Doomfist. Uh I don't want to say Doom is good, but he's not bad either. I honestly don't know where to put Doom. We'll put him in B tier for now. Doom Doom's kind of a wild card because from what I'm seeing when I get Doomfists on my team and when the enemy teams go Doom, it all comes down to how fast your which team decides to counter swap the Doom, or if the Doom is off doing his own thing and his team is like, say you're on push, right? And if your Doom just goes off constantly by himself and no one's backing him up and he just keeps feeding, then Doom is bad. And there are times where if the enemy team has like a diva and whatnot, it feels terrible when your Doom is constantly getting shredded it through like all the enemy team's burst damage and whatnot, and then your team even gets melted after your Doom disappears because he doesn't provide a shield or any some type of team survivability mechanic or whatnot. So it kind of feels bad, but Doom is not bad. He's not bad, but he's not the best. Ryan, Ryan honestly kind of got a huge buff, but he's not A tier. There, you can definitely play Diva and Orisa, but Ryan is really good. They did nerf his shield HP by like what is it, 100 HP. So that's a bit of a sad change, but due to the recent change they did a Ramatra, Ryan is in a huge a better spot to be played now because there's no more getting punched through your shield and whatnot. Speaking of which, Ramatra, out of all the comp games I've played this season, I have seen Ramatra the least. I think that the change they made to him uh where he no longer can pierce through shields and stuff for a mechanic that allows him to break shields a lot quicker. I think that hurt him a lot, but I don't want to put him in D tier because you can still get massive value from Ramatra against like Sigma Barrier, Zar Bubble, and like Monkey Bubble as well. You can break their shields quite fast. However, it comes down to a point to where you either want to just walk through, like if you're going against a monkey, you'd be better off just going into Monkey's bubble and try to punch him in there rather than just standing on the outside and breaking it. But it all comes down to whatever the situation calls for. So Sigma, we're gonna put him above Doom. Sigma, he is good. He's an all around good tank. He it just depends on what map you get. I'm gonna be honest. I don't really have much to say about Sigma. He's just good all around, but he does quite suffer against melee characters like Ryan, Doom, and Ramatra when he's in Nemesis form. He does kind of Sigma does kind of get blown around a bit against melee characters, so that's the only downside I have against Sigma. He's all around good with his shield, his boulder for stuns and interrupting, his vortex absorption against like high a a burst damages and like all around. He's really good, especially against Bastion. You can absorb it when Bastion uses his turret form. You can just absorb all the damages as much as he decides to fire. So we're good with that. Zarya, mm, yeah, we'll put in B tier. Zarya, she's good against Orisa and Diva. However, I don't think she is the greatest tank. There are a lot of times where you can get value from Zarya, but there are also where you get bullied, and I think it comes down to your cooldown management. Cooldown management is all it takes. And even if you are a good Czar player, there are certain tanks like if you go against a tank with the shield like Ryan, Monkey isn't that big of a problem in particular, but like Ryan and Ramatra, especially against Ramatra, Zarya does kind of struggle a bit because Ram does break your bubbles in like two punches with his Nemesis form, but you do benefit from the full charge effect, which is good. And then against Ryan, you're not really getting much value by shooting his barrier because he's not going to really be hitting you a lot because he's going to be blocking most of the damage. So Zarya's good. Junker Queen. Hmm. I'm not a big fan of Queen, but she's quite good, especially on like what's that one map called? New Junk City, like Clash. No, that's not Clash. She actually no, she is quite good on Clash too. It's Clash and Flashpoint. Junker, Flashpoint on New Junk City. First point, Queen is actually very good for the first team fight. However, most of the time, if you do end up winning the first team fight, the enemy team will probably swap to like Orisa or Ryan or whatever they may swap to. It's Queen is still good against majority of the tanks because of her overhealth, the speed boost, and her constant healing factor that she gets from applying bleed to enemies. Roadhog, hmm, yeah, we'll put Roadhog in B tier. Hog Hog has his benefits and his problems. Hog is good for two reasons. You can hook people out of position and you can one-shot people. Squishy characters like DPSs that are below like 250 HP. Anyone that's like a 225 or 200 character, you can one tap them. Unless you have like a damage boost, maybe you can one tap a 275 character, but that's if you have a mercy or whatever and whatnot. But the problem with Hog is that he's an ult sponge for both sides. And the Hog player is constantly getting pumped heals by his supports and constantly getting shot at by the enemy team. So Hog is like he's a double-edged sword in a way. Whenever you have a hog, both teams kind of benefit from it because if your hog isn't getting constant picks, the enemy team is farming ult charge off of him. Even though tanks give less ult charge when they're getting shot at, Hog is just an easy target to hit, so the enemy teams just constantly farm shots into him, and it pumps up their ult gauges, and then you have like that's why you get like team fights where the enemy team has like two ults real early into the game, and it's probably because your Hog was just absorbing so much damage. But not only do they have ults, your team probably also has ults because of your supports are constantly pumping heals into the Roadhog player. So Hog is like a double-edged sword in my opinion. Mauga. Um to be quite honest, I don't think Mauga's that good. They did buff his minigun to where the fire damage over time is a second longer. What is it, from like 3 to 4 seconds? So that alone is good, but otherwise than that, his E being 3 seconds kind of hinders him. Like the damage reduction you get is fantastic, but most of the time you're probably gonna get, as soon as you pop E, you're gonna get anti healed, you're gonna get Matrix by Diva, or you're gonna get blocked by Ryan, or they're all just gonna hide behind some type of cover. So Mauga's not really that great, in my opinion. He is good if you're like if it's like a tough choke and you have like a and your whole team's like cluttered together and you guys and he pops E and within those 3 seconds you guys like push the enemy team, then I can see that's good because then your whole team has like the 100% damage reduction that Malga provides. But other than that, he's mediocre. He's good until he's not. Now we're on to the damage. Genji, I kind of want to come back to Genji later. I want to start off with the obvious answers. Ash and Cass, great DPS. Both hit scan. Ash, long distance, like they did nerf her reload speed. What was it, last season? But honestly, if you play Ash, you're not really gonna feel the reload change. But Ash is really good. Cass, with the recent buff they provided mid-season of season 12, you get his ult much faster. His flash grenade does 75 damage, so if you can kill a bunch of people well, just by throwing a random grenade, and due to the fact that you have high noon a lot quicker, you can use it for honestly, you can use it for for more things. You could use it to reload. You could use it to for more constant flanks. You can go crazy with Cass. And not to mention, Cass is also 275 HP, so he's a little tanky from time to time. Ash, Bob's always good. And especially since they nerfed Sombra with their hack, Bob is like an unstoppable beast unless the enemy team has an Ana now. So the only way you can pretty much stop Bob is if the Ash messes up or if your Ryan pins Bob off the map or whatever that may be. Sombra is no longer that good against Bob, so Ash has got a huge buff with the Sombra changes. Junkrat, Junkrat's good, but he's not the best. There with the recent changes they did to him last season where like they did something to his grenades from his main primary fire, and it feels like you get spammed out more. His damage, he can one tap again, is all great, but but against like hit scanned characters and stuff like that, Junkrat kind of gets eaten up when and you're not close enough to them and whatnot. He's more of like a how you know what? Yeah, no, Junkrat's good. He's just you could play hit scan and it'd probably go a lot better. May May's a solid B pick. She's good. Hinder, ice wall, cut off someone from the enemy team. Even if they're you can separate the tank from their team, so your whole team can attack them. Say Ryan goes in and then he tries to back out. May ice wall him, isolate him. Whole team jumps. The enemy team's without a tank and they back up. Her ult freeze, wall him off. May's just good all around, and she's got what is it, 275 HP, and she can stall point with her icicle. So May is really good right now. However, there are times where you should not pick May in terms of like if your team needs to get to the point fast or if your team just needs like more damage and like if they have like a flying character and whatnot. I don't see May as like the good pick choice to go. Farah, I don't see Farah being that good of a pick. She kind of gets eaten alive by the insane amount of hit scan characters that are good right now. And like even with a mercy pocket, Farah kind of still is not the greatest. So who knows? Maybe in the future, Farah will get a buff and we can bump her up a bit. Genji, and we'll put him high C. He's kind of a loose cannon. He's good until the enemy team. He just Genji requires so much skill, and if you don't have the skill to play the Genji, I recommend you don't play him because his swift strikes are good and all, but he gets eaten alive by Moira. He just gets eaten alive by beam characters, and Moira especially. He is really good right now. So so as a Genji, you're probably gonna die a more often than you get value from him to like a random Moira player if they go out of their way to kill you. So Hanzo. So I don't want to put Hanzo in C tier, but he's not bad, but he's not good either. He's like if your team is running a sniper comp, Hanzo's good because he can one shot. But they removed the fact her yeah. They removed his ability to be affected by the global projectile size increase. So his shots are a lot smaller, therefore it's harder to hit. But if you can hit Hanzo's shots, he is really good with the one taps. However, a lot of characters have some form of mobility. So if you're not able to keep track of like what they predict what direction they're going and whatnot, Hanzo's quite difficult to play. But he's still good if you can hit your shots. Reaper, honestly, Yeah, Reaper. We'll put Reaper in A tier. Good flank character, good escape options, high damage at close range. He's still good. He was meta last season, but I think people are playing him a lot less now. Don't know why. Yeah, unless they changed him or something, but Reaper's still all around good. Soldier. Hmm. I don't want to put Soldier in A tier because there are times where he, yeah, B, high B. We'll put him there. Soldier is fantastic. High mobility. Well, not high mobility. His sprint is good. It, and his damage output is very high. And his Helix rockets do insane damage. The way you play Soldier is you constantly just take flanks behind the enemy team and you just shoot their back line. And as soon as they see you, you leave. That's how you play Soldier. You run and take random corners, shoot them, and when the enemy team looks at you, you leave. That's it. And you get so much value just by playing cat and mouse. It's a really good. He's really good right now, and I somewhat see why I see him a lot in my game. So he might be a good pick, but he's not the best. There are other times where I see people just go Cass over him because he can hinder, or you have combat roll, and then you get Cass's ult more frequently than Soldier. So yeah, Torb. His turret kind of does all the work, but his primary fire can one tap Tracer. I think. All in all, Torb is good for defense, but as an attack hero, he's not really the greatest. But for defense, he's very great at his job. Symmetra, yeah, I'd put her in C tier. She's good against Diva. That's pretty much the only reason I can see you ever going Symmetra for Diva because her turrets slow her Diva down from diving your back line. Diva also can't block your lasers and whatnot. So yeah, Symmetra, I'd put her in C tier. Venture, mm, we'll put her in B, or put them in B. Venture playstyle is very similar to Genji, but unlike Genji, Venture gets shields and can do everything Genji can do in a safer way just by doing the drill attack that puts them under the ground. That alone, Venture being able to get out of sticky situations a lot safer makes them better than Genji in my opinion. And Venture overall does higher damage with their melee. So, good character. Tracer, Tracer's still a good character, even with the nerfs that they had before. Tracer's still an all-around good character. High mobility, high survivability. You can get in and one clip of support and then get out. Great character all around. She's very annoying, so good luck with that. Bastion, same thing. Bastion, hmm. I kind of want to put Bastion in S tier. Yeah, why not? We'll put Bastion in S tier. Bastion's S tier, high damage. It's tanky as heck. Um, he has his ult. He gets his ult much quicker now because they did the same thing to him that they did with Cass, where they both get their ults extremely quick. So yeah, actually, yeah, we'll just move Cass up to the top. So extremely good DPS, high survivability. He can melt an entire team with one use of his configuration if you use it well and position yourself well. His grenade, you can bounce yourself to good positioning spots and all that. So Bastion's all around good. Widow, mm, we'll put Widow in B. Even though Widow got her mythic, they did nerf her a bit with some of the map reworks they launched this season, and like Havana first point for example, uh, the Widow sniping spot, that balcony has a window there. It's sort of a buff and a nerf. in my opinion, because now Widow can actually has like a space to use for cover, but it also blocks off. It also provides less places for her and for snipers to shoot you from, which is all around good. But Widow's still a good character. High burst. I think she has the highest burst damage in the game. One shots across the map and all around good DPS character. Although she does get eaten alive by flank characters, so yeah, look out for that. Sombra, as much as I want to put her in C tier, I don't think she's D tier. She's not bad. I'd definitely say she's the best out of the C tier picks because she may not have perma invis, but she with her 20% damage boost against hacked enemies, she does kind of eat a lot of DPS characters alive. So they basically traded out Sombra being behind your backline infinitely for her to be like more of a she's sort of like Tracer. They're kind of like the same thing, but she's a worse version of Tracer. Tracer has the three blinks, and then she can melt a support and get out. Sombra kind of has to like walk and has to like walk around somewhere, and then throw the translocator to even get the invis. And then once she pops out with the 5 second invis, she throws the hack, the data cube, SMG, and then by that time she has the translocator back, and then she dips out of there. So I'm not saying that Sombra's terrible, but she is a worse version of Tracer. But she does have more value than Tracer against certain characters because the hack can still interrupt Doomfist and whatnot. It's just the hack. The hack honestly received a huge nerf this season. Echo B tier, honestly, all good around DPS. Her bombs, insane damage. Laser can finish characters off when they're at half HP. Mobility is insane. You can drop on people from height with your sticky grenades and shoot like two bullets and they're gone. And then her ult where you can copy any character in the game. She's just all around good. Soldier B tier as well. Uh, they changed her railgun to where it no longer depletes after like 25 charge, I think, and you also get your railgun charge from her AoE blast. I don't know what it's called, but that energy sphere that she shoots out of her left arm, uh that gives you railgun charge, so that also helps benefit it helps huh it helps Sojourn benefit from getting her railgun, and you can hit headshots a lot more cleaner. All I'm saying is that Sojourn gets her railgun a lot faster now, so she's kind of a threat compared to how she was before, which she kind of needed it because the character kind of blew after for like a couple seasons. Support Moira, honest B tier support, good, decent damage, decent heals. She's great. Brig, I still want Brig is an A tier support for one reason, because of her. Juno, Juno alone can keep Brig in. If Brig wants to be a mini Ryan, Juno keeps her alive with her Juno's high insane healing output, which keeps her which keeps Brig alive and her alive because if someone were to dive Juno, Brig could easily peel back and block all the damage with her shield, build or knock them back. It's honestly these two are still a broken backline, but I don't want to put them in S tier for two reasons. One, their healing outputs got nerfed, and two, uh, I'm not really seeing that much. I'm not seeing them every game, so I'm not entirely sure if they're still the best backline. Because honestly, I'm seeing more, I'm seeing more on a Brig than I am on a Juno. It's a mix. It's honestly a mix between the three. These three are the most played supports that I'm seeing across all my matches. So they probably are the best supports currently right now. But Lifeweaver, eh, I don't want to put Lifeweaver in D tier because I'm actually seeing quite a lot of Lifeweavers in my games. He's not a troll pick, but he's not good. I really don't know where to put him. We'll just leave him there. Mercy, I see. Even with the buffs they gave her last season, the 30% damage boost and then the 60 heals output. Honestly, you could play Mercy, but you could honestly just go Juno and get the same amount of value from her ult. Her ult is insane. 100 heals a second, 30% damage output. It's great. Baptiste, I'd put in B tier. Same with Moira. High damage. Good. He has good survivability with his immortality field. Great duelist. One you can pretty much win like almost essentially every 1v1 against all squishy characters except tanks. So Bap is really good. He also has his burst heal with his E. So that's another thing going for Bap. Elari. I'd put Elari in C tier for one reason. Her ammunition change where she has less bullets from what she had originally kind of hinders her, so she doesn't get as many kills as she did before. Her healing pylon has great heals. It's still decent, but most of the time if you're gonna go for like a character that does damage and heals, you'd probably want to get more value out of like a character with utility like Brig for armor, inspiration, Juno for speed ring, hyper ring, and all that stuff. High healing output along with the speed output, and then like Ana for the sleep, the anti nade, aid, and then the nano boost. Zen, hmm, Zen, I want to put in B tier. Hear me out. Zen, he's a glass cannon, but if Orisa is really good, then Zen also could be good. For one thing in particular, his Discord orb. If Orisa, if the time comes where Orisa is actually played every single game, you would go Zen to Discord her. That alone, you just go Zen just to Discord Orisa. Sure, Fortify, it gives her damage reduction, and if you pop Zen and Discord on Orisa, it basically cancels out her Fortify. It just gives it all Fortify would do at that point is just give Orisa more health that your team could melt down with the Discord damage reduction. And as soon as the Fortify is over, she would, and if she's still in your line of sight, the Discord would still be on her, and your whole team could just melt Orisa. As soon as Orisa shows up, just Discord her and have your whole team focus Orisa, and Orisa will be eliminated. Lucio, man, I like Lucio. He was my support main when I first started playing support, but he needs help. He's not the best support in my honest opinion. His heals are lackluster at best. His speed boost is his speed is great because it's constant, but you're honestly a lot better just playing Juno because Juno pretty much does the same thing Lucio does, but does what he does a lot safer. Sure, she doesn't do 21 damage per shot, but Juno, sit behind your team in a safe spot, keep them all alive, and if they need the speed boost, you can pop the hyper ring and they're all good. Lucio, you kind of have to be in that mix, and if you get shot and focused, you're kind of just throwing the game for your teammates because you're probably going to get flamed half the time every time you die when you try to speed your team in and you end up getting shot first, and it's an experience that people do not like when they have a Lucio because people constantly look at the stats and they see your heal numbers on Lucio and they constantly flame you and they're going to be typing in chat telling you to swap off Lucio. It's not a great time. And Kiri, actually, if we're going to put Kiri here, we're going to put Juno in S tier. Simple. It's as simple as that. Kiri's is always a good support. Her heals are decent. You can't miss. Her kunais do high damage, headshots do 120, base damage do 60. She has teleport through walls if you want to get out. I think it's on a 6 second cooldown. Suzu for cleansing, Ana's anti nade, aid, and giving your team aim like half a second of invincibility. It's good. She's a great support. So Juno, like I said, if you have the option to choose between Lucio and Juno, you'd probably be better off just playing Juno. She's a lot better than him. Does everything he does, but safer. Ult is insane. Lucio, you, I can see his ult being good for like if the enemy team has like a Zar and they pop Grav, or if you're trying to run like a speed comp and just have Lucio and Juno at the same time. All around, if you go Lucio, just go Juno instead. But that's about it. Hope you guys enjoyed the tier list. This is subject to change. The meta I'm seeing has their on console has no meta, so I thought I should just make a tier list on what I'm seeing currently. So if you guys end up watching this and your main aim is in a spot that you don't agree with, feel free to tell me in the comments why, and you'll probably encourage me to use them more in my games because I'm gonna be honest, I'm just a Juno one trick. So that's it. See ya.